The slot machines that never pay out. Ex-workers finally speak. You walk into a casino, and the floor feels electric. Lights shimmer across rows of machines. Bonus sounds echo like promises, and every spin around you seems to hint at a life-changing moment. But behind that excitement lies a quiet truth, one I didn't understand until former casino employees started talking. They told me about certain machines designed not to thrill you, but to drain you slowly, silently, predictably. Machines that almost never pay out, yet always look busy. Machines placed exactly where your instincts lead you first. Machines built to make you feel close to winning, even when the math says you never were. One ex-technician said it best. Some slots aren't built to reward you. They're built to keep you believing. And once you notice the patterns, the near misses, the flashy bonuses, the sensory overload, you can't unsee them. Suddenly, the casino floor looks different. Clearer, sharper, almost exposed. You're about to learn which machines insiders avoid, why they're so dangerous, and how casinos make them irresistible. But the real question is, have you ever unknowingly played one? Expanded chapter script. Chapter 1. Almost equals 235 words. The hidden patterns behind never pay out slots. Walk onto any casino floor and you'll notice something right away. Some machines pull crowds. Others sit quietly with a single hopeful player tapping the spin button like a heartbeat. I once watched a guy play the same flashing, over-the-top machine for nearly an hour without a single meaningful hit. And the wild part? That machine was designed to play exactly like that. That's what this chapter is about. The patterns beneath the lights, the logic behind the losses, and why certain slots seem allergic to paying out. See, casinos don't rely on luck. They rely on mathematical certainty. Every slot has a programmed payout percentage, a rhythm of wins and losses that's locked into its code. But here's what most players never notice. The machines that advertise big entertainment, wild bonus rounds, or flashy branded features often have some of the lowest RTP on the floor. They grab your attention, they keep you spinning, but they rarely send you home with a story worth bragging about. And if you've ever wondered why some machines feel tight, you're not imagining it. Placement, volatility, and design psychology all work together to shape your experience long before you sit down. Before playing anything, check the volatility rating and bankroll needs. High volatility machines require patience and deep pockets. If you don't have both, walk away. Have you ever caught yourself staying on a machine simply because it felt close? In the next chapter, you'll learn why that feeling is one of the most expensive illusions on the casino floor. Why almost winning machines drain bankrolls fast. You've probably seen it happen. The reels stop, two jackpot symbols lock into place, and the third one just barely misses the line. The machine flashes, the speakers cheer, and for a split second, your body reacts like you actually won. I once watched a player jump out of his seat after an almost bonus trigger, only to realize he earned nothing but encouragement to keep spinning. And that isn't an accident. It's part of the design. Modern slot machines use something called near-miss conditioning. The machine rewards your brain with the same dopamine spike you get from a real win, even though no money is added to your balance. It keeps you believing you're close. It makes you feel like the machine owes you something. But here's what most players never realize. Near misses don't indicate that a payout is coming. They read just visual noise layered onto a random number generator that already knew the result before the reels even spun. Casinos learned long ago that players stay longer and spend more when they feel like they're on the verge of a big moment. So the machines that rely heavily on near-miss mechanics tend to be the ones that drain bankrolls the fastest. When you catch yourself chasing almost wins, cash out and walk away. A machine that constantly teases is a machine that's doing its job, taking your money slowly. Have you ever kept spinning just because the machine felt warm or due? In the next chapter, we'll break down why that belief costs players more than any other myth in gambling. The myth of hot and cold machines. Take a walk through any casino and you'll hear it whispered like insider wisdom. That machine is hot right now. Or, don't bother, it went cold. I once heard two regulars argue over which slot had better energy, as if the machine responded to the mood in the room. It's a comforting idea, believing you can sense when a machine is about to turn in your favor. But here's what most players never realize. Hot and cold streaks are illusions created by short-term randomness. Every slot spin is determined by a random number generator, RNG. that resets instantly. The machine doesn't know you lost 10 spins in a row. It doesn't care if you've been sitting there for an hour. It doesn't remember the last jackpot, and it certainly isn't warming up. The streaks you see are just clusters of outcomes that appear meaningful, but aren't. Casinos don't need to rig a machine to create that effect. Volatility alone produces patterns that look emotional, dry spells followed by bursts of action. Players interpret that as personality, but it's just math doing what math does. Machines that feel cold often attract fewer players, which means they produce fewer visible wins. That reinforces the myth. Pick machines based on RTP and volatility, not superstition. If a machine isn't playing the way you want, leave the seat, not your logic. Have you ever stayed too long hoping things would turn around? In the next chapter, we uncover how casinos position their lowest-paying slots right where your instincts pull you first. The casino floor trap. Why the worst slots sit in the best locations the moment you step into a casino. Your senses get hit all at once. The music, the ringing jackpots, the glow of machines that seem to scream your name. But here's what I learned from watching casino floor teams work. None of that placement is random. Every aisle, every cluster, every spotlight is engineered to guide you straight toward the machines that pay out the least. High traffic zones, right near entrances, walkways, bar areas, or those eye-catching carousel displays, often house the tightest slots. Why? Because casinos know exactly how people behave. When you walk in excited, hopeful, ready to play, you're more likely to sit at the first flashy machine that catches your attention. And those machines, the ones designed to lure you instantly, usually have lower RTP and higher volatility. They're built to entertain, not reward. I once watched a team reposition an entire group of slots just to increase foot traffic around them. The machines didn't change, but the profits certainly did. And the players never noticed. The loosest machines are often tucked away, near the back, in quieter corners, or mixed among older cabinets that don't look as glamorous. Never play the first machine you see. Walk the floor, avoid the spotlight zones, and pick machines based on data, not decoration. The bonus game illusion. Flashy features, low payout reality. If you've ever sat at a slot machine just because the bonus round looked fun, you're not alone. I once watched a woman choose a game purely because the animated dragon in the bonus feature looked lucky. The machine was stunning. Huge screen, sound effects that shook the floor, bright symbols dancing across the reels. But after 40 minutes of play, her balance was nearly gone, and she'd only triggered the bonus once. And when she finally did, the payout barely covered a few spins. The more elaborate the bonus game, the more the machine has to charge you in the long run. Those animations, licensed themes, multi-stage features, and mini-games cost money to develop. And where do you think the casino recovers that cost? Through a lower RTP and tighter base game wins. Most players never realize that high entertainment machines often deliver the lowest returns. They rebuilt to keep you visually engaged so you forget how much you actually losing. The excitement becomes the reward, not the payout. The real danger? Bonus games create the illusion of hope. You chase them, believing the next trigger will finally pay big, but the math rarely supports that belief. If a game's appeal relies heavily on flashy bonus features, check its RTP first. If the number isn't strong, look elsewhere. The progressive jackpot trap, big dreams, small returns. There's a reason people flock to progressive slots. The moment you see that jackpot number climbing, $10, 000, $50,000, sometimes even a life-changing six figures, you feel a spark of possibility. I once watched a man sit down at a progressive machine simply because the jackpot felt ready. He wasn't wrong for dreaming big. Progressives are designed to make anyone feel like they could win. But here's what most players never realize. The bigger the jackpot, the smaller the day-to-day returns. Progressive machines route a portion of every single spin into that growing prize pool. That money has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the base game. That means fewer mid-range hits, fewer steady payouts, fewer moments that refill your balance long enough to keep you playing responsibly. The machine's main job is to feed the jackpot, not to keep your bankroll alive. And the odds? They're often far worse than players assume. You're competing against every player feeding that same jackpot across multiple machines or even multiple casinos. The appeal is emotional, not mathematical. What's more, casinos usually keep progressives in high visibility zones, so those massive numbers act as magnets. You aren't meant to resist. Only play progressives with a set spending limit and walk away once you hit it. Think of the jackpot as entertainment value, not a financial plan. Ever chased a jackpot because the number looked too big to ignore? In the next chapter, you'll learn why machines with stacked symbols and high volatility can empty your wallet before you even realize what happened. High volatility machines, the silent bankroll killers. You sit down at a machine with gorgeous stacked symbols, expanding wilds, and those dramatic slow-motion spins that make your heart jump every time they hit. You think, this one feels powerful. But 10 minutes later, your credits are slipping away like water through your fingers. I watched a guy burn through a full session on one of these machines without ever touching a meaningful win. When he finally walked away, he looked stunned, like the machine had betrayed him. In truth, it was doing exactly what it was built to do. High volatility slots aren't designed for frequent payouts. They're designed for occasional big hits. That means long stretches of nothing followed by rare bursts of excitement. For casual players or small bankrolls, this is a dangerous combination. The emotional highs trick you into believing a big moment is coming soon, while the mathematical reality keeps consuming your credits quietly in the background. Most players confuse intensity with generosity. The loud machines, the stacked reels, the dramatic spin mechanics, they all create an illusion of strength. But volatility is simply risk, repackaged as entertainment. And here's the part most people never realize. Hitting a huge feature doesn't guarantee profit. You can still trigger a bonus and walk away disappointed. If your budget is limited, stick to low or medium volatility slots. They're steadier, more predictable, and better for long sessions. Branded slots, Hollywood hype, casino reality. You've seen these machines, the ones wrapped in movie posters, TV characters, superheroes, rock bands, or nostalgic childhood icons. They glow brighter, sound louder, and promise an experience that feels more like entertainment than gambling. I once watched an entire row of players line up just to try a popular TV-themed slot because it played the show's theme song every time the bonus meter filled. But here's the truth behind the glamour. These machines often pay out less than their plain, old-school counterparts. Licensed slots come with licensing fees. Casinos pay for the branding, the music, the voiceovers, the cutscenes, and every fancy feature tied to that franchise. And those costs don't disappear. They're baked directly into the machine's payout structure. That usually means a lower RTP, higher volatility, and fewer stable wins. The psychology is powerful. You feel emotionally connected to the theme, so you're more willing to stay longer, bet higher, and chase features just to see what cool animation triggers next. Casinos count on that emotional attachment. They know brand loyalty can override logic. And here's what most players never consider. The simpler the machine, the more likely it is to offer straightforward, fairer odds. When choosing between a branded slot and a non-branded slot with similar features, pick the unbranded one. You're paying for gameplay, not licensing. Multi-line slot deception, when wins aren't really wins. Sit at any modern slot machine and you'll notice something interesting. It feels like you re-winning all the time. The screen flashes, coins sparkle, sound effects celebrate, and the machine proudly announces a win, even when your balance drops. I once stood behind a player who was thrilled by constant line hits. 20 lines, 30 lines, sometimes more. Yet every time the celebration stopped, her credits kept shrinking. She wasn't losing because she was unlucky. She was losing because the machine was engineered to make losses feel like wins. That's the heart of multi-line deception. These machines let you bet on dozens or even hundreds of pay lines. But here's what most players never notice. Many of those wins pay less than the bet required to spin. The machine calls it a win, but mathematically, it's a net loss. The psychology is brilliant. You hear celebration sounds, you see bright animations, and your brain logs it as success, even though your bankroll is slowly draining. Multi-line slots thrive on small, frequent hits that don't actually help you sustain your session. They create momentum without delivering monetary value, and that illusion keeps players sitting far longer than they intended. Track your actual balance after every win. If your credits keep sliding despite constant hits, you're experiencing loss disguised as win mechanics, and it's time to move on. Ever played a machine that kept rewarding you while your money disappeared? In the next chapter, we'll expose why penny slots, despite sounding cheap, are some of the most expensive games on the entire casino floor. Penny slots, the highest cost hidden behind the lowest bet. Penny slots sound harmless. The name alone feels friendly, low pressure, low stakes, perfect for stretching a small bankroll. But I once watched a new player sit down at a penny machine thinking she'd play light and easy. 10 minutes later, she was betting $3.20 per spin without even realizing it. That's the trick behind penny slots. They're marketed as cheap, but penny slots require multiple credits per line and dozens of lines per spin. The machine might advertise 1 cent, but the real minimum bet can jump into dollars instantly. Combine that with high volatility, rapid spin speed, and constant sensory feedback, and you've got one of the fastest bankroll drains in the entire casino. Casinos know this. That's why penny machines take up huge portions of the floor. They're profitable, addictive, and deceptively expensive. On top of that, penny slots often have some of the lowest RTP percentages available. You're betting more than you think on a machine that returns less than you expect, surrounded by lights that make every small hit feel like a victory. It's the perfect psychological storm. Treat penny slots like dollar machines. Always check the cost per spin before pressing play, and set a hard limit before the first reel even moves. Cascading reels, the illusion of momentum and free wins. You've probably seen these newer style machines where the symbols explode, tumble, or cascade after every hit. The screen lights up, the reels keep dropping new icons, and it feels like you're winning again and again in a single spin. I once stood behind a player who celebrated a long cascade chain like she cracked the machine's code. But when the animation stopped, she checked her balance and frowned. Despite all that excitement, she'd only won a fraction of her total bet back. That's the hidden design of cascading reels. They create action without guaranteeing value. Cascading mechanics spread the payout potential across multiple smaller hits, instead of delivering one strong one. That means even a long chain might end up paying less than a single traditional line win on a classic slot. And because the cascades feel continuous, players get drawn into the illusion of momentum, as if the machine is heating up, as if the next drop has to be the one that hits big. But the RNG doesn't care. Each cascade is predetermined, and the machine's volatility often increases because the designers expect the emotional rush to keep you spinning. Cascading reels aren't generous. They're cinematic. If you like cascading reels, set a win threshold. If a chain doesn't pay at least your full spin cost, don't let the animation distract you from the math. Why old-school machines quietly outperform new releases. In a world of giant HD screens, 3D characters, and booming soundtracks, it's easy to assume newer slot machines must be better. But walk into any casino early in the morning and look at the regulars, the serious players, the ones who track their bankroll like clockwork. Many of them sit at older machines with simple reels, basic payouts, and none of the modern flair. I once asked a veteran player why he avoided the newest games. He looked at me, tapped his machine, and said, "This one pays. The fancy ones entertain." Older slots often have higher RTPs, lower volatility, and straightforward math. No expensive licensing. No massive animation budget. No multi-layered bonus systems designed to stretch your play. Instead, they rely on clean probability and consistent returns over time. Casinos keep them on the floor because they attract informed players, and because not every machine needs to be a spectacle. Newer machines, on the other hand, often come with higher overhead costs. More features, more tech, more development costs. And just like branded slots, that cost is built right into the payout structure. The flashier the game, the more the player pays for the experience. But most players chase what looks exciting instead of what performs reliably. If you want steadier results, look for older, 3-reel, or early digital video slots with simpler pay tables. They're not glamorous, but they're often far more honest. Sensory overload. How lights and sounds trick you into overspending. Casinos are designed to feel alive. The moment you sit down, machines glow, music pulses, reels shimmer, and every small hit erupts into a celebration. I once watched a woman play a machine that cheered louder than most football stadiums. Every spin felt like an event, even when she was losing. That's not a coincidence. It's psychology in motion. Slot machines use sensory overload to create emotional momentum. Bright lights trigger excitement. Rising pitch tones simulate anticipation. Vibrations and animations reward you instantly, even when the payout is minimal or non-existent. Your brain registers stimulation, not loss. And that's exactly what casinos want: for you to stay longer, spin more, and ignore the slow decline in your credits. The more sensory effects a machine uses, the more it's designed to mask low-value outcomes. A machine doesn't need to pay you to make you feel like you're winning. It just needs to react. If a simple 15 cents hit triggers a light show, you start believing you're on the right track, even as your bankroll shrinks. The trick is subtle, but powerful. Turn down the emotional volume. Look at your credit meter, not the screen, after every spin. Let the numbers tell the truth, not the lights. The smart player mindset. Your checklist for beating the worst slots after everything we've uncovered. Near-miss traps, low RTP zones, progressive illusions, sensory overload. It all comes down to one thing: mindset. I once heard an old pit boss say, "Players don't lose because of luck. They lose because they don't know the game they're playing." And he was right. The smartest players walk into a casino with clarity, not hope. They know what to avoid, what to look for, and when to walk away. You can't control the machine, but you can control your approach. Start by identifying your bankroll and choosing machines with volatility levels that match it. Avoid anything overly flashy, licensed, or stacked with gimmicks. Stick to higher RTP games tucked away from entrances and high-traffic zones. Track your balance instead of relying on emotional cues. And never chase losses or fall for the illusion that a machine is due. Because ultimately, slots are entertainment, not strategy tools. The goal is to enjoy the ride without letting the ride take over your judgment. So here's your smart player checklist. Know your budget. Choose machines with data, not decoration. Avoid high volatility games unless you're prepared for risk. Walk away when the machine stops giving value. Treat every win as temporary, not a promise. Enter with a plan. Leave with discipline. That's how you stay ahead in a place designed to keep you spinning. Now think back. Have you ever walked into a casino with strategy instead of instinct? If not, now you can.